8 million people in Britain own a dog, and most of them are aware that they're supposed to clean up after their pet when they're out on the streets or in the local park.
It's not just a simple case of good manners, because dog mess can cause serious illnesses, including blindness.
Well, with us now is Suzanne Langdon, whose 2-year-old daughter Amy was left partially blind after a dog owner failed to pick after their pet. Yes, and she's with us then. You're on the TV too. And with that very nice gentleman next to you is Professor John Lewis, who's an expert on the problem. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Suzanne, tell us first of all then what happened to Amy.
We were playing in the park in Manchester, and Amy had come off the slide and ran towards the gate to go and feed the ducks and fallen into some dog mess. Before I could get to her, she wiped it in her eye.
Yeah.
And basically, then I took her home, and within 48 hours her eye had swollen. It looked like she'd gone 10 rounds with Mike Tyson, basically. And
I think we've got a picture of the infection, actually. So what happened when you realised that that had flared up? You took her to hospital?
I took her straight to Manchester Children's Hospital.
And did they say this is definitely down to the dog mess?
Well, I told them that she'd fallen in it a couple of days before, and then they took swabs and it was verified that it was bacterial because of the dog mess. But she'd also, it was just horrific, basically. It just spread all down her face.
Professor Lewis, how often is this sort of thing happening? Because people should have been aware of this for ages.
Oh, it's been around for a very long time. In the case of Amy, what happened there was direct contact between the dog mess and the eye. Prime suspect in many dog infections is actually a roundworm called Toxocara, and Amy does show signs of antibodies to Toxocara and toxocariasis.
This is when the dog has worms?
Yes, the dog has worms, the roundworms, and unfortunately, with untreated dogs and street dogs, obviously they're the culprits. Responsible dog owners, of course, are treating their dogs, and therefore there's little problem. So what happens is that street dogs, untreated dogs enter into play areas, deposit many infected stages of eggs in the sand pit, and then children unintentionally often pick this up through their fingers. In the case of Amy, however, we've got a combination of two things, possibly an infection with Toxocara, which has been proved through serology, and in addition to that, it's this direct action of the dog mess going into the eye, causing bacterial infection, which resulted in this orbital cellulitis.
Right, and it's not just dogs, is it? It's cats as well. Presumably it's wild animals like foxes.
Absolutely. We're now just not talking about dog owners. We're really talking about pet owners, in particular dogs, in particular cats. Cats themselves actually carry the same infectious diseases, and foxes, with the increase in the urbanization of foxes into urban areas, foxes have the same parasites and pathogens as dogs, and we can't obviously treat those.
Yeah, Amy's getting a bit fed up.
Like she is, isn't she? I know.
Suzanne, what I was thinking earlier was, we've been aware of this problem for a long time. It seems extraordinary that dog owners, A, don't get their dogs wormed, and B, are still that selfish. And how do you get the message across?
Well, they just need to take responsibility. I mean, if you look at that picture of Amy, that's a very real consequence of someone's inaction and, complete ignorance.
Yeah. It is irresponsible dog owners. I wonder, though, what do you say? Do you say anything to dog owners who aren't being responsible? What do you say?
Yeah, I do. I saw somebody in another park in Manchester the other day have their dog in the area that is gated off and no dogs allowed, and I said, do you realise that, my little girl's now blind because of people like you, in one of her eyes.
And has she no sight at all in her left eye?
75% blind in her left eye. It's completely scarred.
And there's no recovery from that, Professor?
No, and unfortunately, in the case of a bacterial infection like that, like orbital cellulitis, you have to have prompt medical advice so that the urgent treatment, diagnosis and treatment. So it's immediately in parents, like in the stage of Suzanne here, immediately to medical advice, doctor and A&E, so that they can have, and then refer to the ophthalmology or in some cases ENT. Sometimes you get infections of the sinus, which cause the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Amy, thank you very much. Not easy for you to come on today. You've been very good.
Well done. She can have the bracelet.
Yes, that's a present from Auntie Sian.
Present for Sian.
Auntie Sian's
So
present
thank
to
you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks both.